I'm currently filming this video on the day before we are set to get hit with like a crazy ice storm. So curious when I post this if we got it or not. We have nothing right now, but we're set to get like a crazy amount of snow, crazy amount of ice. So curious. Curious. I'm coming off of having a few days off for right after New Year's. My kiddo's been off school for a couple weeks, so I've had to take a few days off for childcare. And I'm looking at already having to take Monday off for a snow day. Yeah. Anyway, hey guys, welcome to my channel. That was literally my third attempt at saying hey guys. Just so you know, tidbit. Uh, we're going to do my top 10 books of 2024. I'm slightly late on this, but not too late. It's like January 4th. I didn't want to complete it before the end of the year, mainly because I was reading The Will of the Many at the end of the year, and I didn't know if that was going to make it onto this list. Spoiler, it didn't, but I wasn't sure. So I really wanted to wait and film this one after the end of the year so I knew for sure. I tried to be a bit diverse in my pickings because I really read so many romance and so many romantasy. I didn't want my whole list to be all of that. And there were some books that I read that were not that genre that I fell in love with, and I gave a full 5 stars. I didn't rank these in any certain order because honestly, I don't know if I have like a true favorite, and it felt weird to rank them, especially with like different genres because like I loved books from certain genres for different reasons than other genres, you know? So I didn't rank them. We're just going to go down the list. Wow, I think I have like 2 romantasy books on this list, and that's it. 3? 3. That's it. Wow. All right. First book is Project Hail Mary. Y'all, this book was super, super good. I was recommended this book by Trev something. Ruby Trev. I was recommended this book by Ruby Trev, and I loved it. Oh my goodness. This one is about a gentleman that wakes up in space with amnesia. He's got no idea where he's at. He is being taken care of by a computer. He's got some shipmates next to him that unfortunately did not make the journey. He's been on this big long journey asleep in a coma for a while. Is essentially the story of him figuring out why he's there, but also the bigger story is him trying to save the world from an apocalyptic event. It's him by himself in space trying to figure out what's going on. And then we also get flashbacks of him regaining his memory. So, of course, we're starting at the beginning of those regaining memories. And oh my gosh, this book was amazing. It was so good. This book has so much humor. It's got a lot of science in it, which the science definitely went over my head. I'm not a scientist. I've never been that good with science. I like math more, which goes hand in hand with science, but science was never my strong suit. But there's a lot of science in it. There's a lot of humor. We have an alien at some point. Not scary at all. So I highly recommend Project Hail Mary. The audiobook for it was so good. I got this one on Audible. I purchased it. The audio narrator really reminds me of Woody from Toy Story. I don't know why he sounds very similar to Tom Hanks, but he does. The audiobook made this book 5 stars. I think I still would have liked it reading it just by itself, but the audiobook was so good. It definitely elevated it for sure. It's a sci-fi though. So if you don't like sci-fi, you might not like it. I read the entire series of the Boys of Tommen series, and I devoured these. Holy moly. I wish that I could say I gave every single book in the series 5 stars. I did not. I didn't give Taming 7 5 stars. I'm so beyond bummed about it. I just got done reading Taming 7 in December. So sad about that. But the first 4, geez, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. They're big boys. They're so long. This doesn't make them look like they're that long, but the pages in this publication are crazy thin. Like you can kind of see the page on the next page. So take that with a grain of salt. They're crazy long, especially the first 2. But the first 2 were my absolute favorite. The Boys of Tommen series, we are following a bunch of characters in Ireland, and the first 2 follow Johnny and Shannon. The second 2 books follow Aoife and Joey. And then the last book that was just released this year follows Claire and Gibbsy. This one's truly like a found family to the extreme. It's got so much emotional trauma, emotional depth to it. First 4, 5 stars. Easy. Easy as 5 stars. I think I've never given. I want to live in this world, but I really don't because it was also damaging. And then the second two, Joey and Aoife's story, holy moly, that shattered my mom heart. Like the only reason why I was that like having a breakdown reading that was my kiddo was having a great week. I would literally grab the monitor and like look at my child and be like, he's safe, he's happy, he's loved. Deep breath. Like, oh God. Shattered my soul. That one's hard to read as a parent. It really is, but it's amazing. My favorite of all 5 books are these two, Finding and Keeping 13, for sure. I loved Joey and Shannon's story so much. I absolutely Joey and Shannon. Those are brother and sister. Johnny and Shannon. I loved Johnny and Shannon's story so much. Johnny is a total cinnamon bun roll. Cinnamon bun, how you say that, whatever. Main male character. And that's typically not my favorite style main male character, but in this one, it just worked. Like, did I even describe what it was about accurately? Probably not. Honestly, I don't think I should. Like, people need to go into this story reading triggers, but also kind of blind because it leads you through so much. So next I have Quicksilver. Oh shoot, this one I did not give 5 stars. I think I gave it 4.5. There was just like a little bit that like docked it for me. It's so hard to describe this book, but Quicksilver was so good. I'm gonna own it at some point. I don't own it yet, but I will at some point. I pre-ordered the second one right around that time. I'll get the first one as well. I'm not too worried about owning it right this second. But Quicksilver. We've got I don't remember. I don't remember our main character's names besides Kingfisher. I don't remember our main female character's name. That's bad. She's on my list and that's bad. I'm sorry. The world building on this is really great. It's very complex and super interesting. She lives in an area of the world that is extremely poor. So they've got like water rations and she has to essentially just like kick ass to survive. She's got to steal. She's got to just do whatever she has to do to take care of herself and her brother. And she ends up stealing something of major value. I think it's like a gauntlet. And she gets caught, sadly. She gets caught and she gets taken to Queen. I said Maeve in my wrap up video for November. It's Madra. Madra. She gives some crazy Maeve vibes though. I don't even know if I posted that part on my wrap up video. I may have just cut that out. I truly cannot remember. But Queen Madra sentences her to death, and in that process, she ends up escaping and opening up a portal to a Fey realm where Kingfisher saves her life. I think begrudgingly, but he saves her life and brings her into this Fey realm. And the story just starts from there. Kingfisher is grumpy and a bit of a jerk, a bit of an a-hole. The Fey realm has a war of their own going on. I only docked it just a little bit because I really just didn't like the main villain in the Fey realm. He was weird. He was a weirdly written character. I think that could have been done better. I can't help but compare it to Akatar's villain. What the hell is his name? The king. Not Amarantha. The big king. I don't even remember his name. I've read that book twice, that series twice, and I can't remember his name. But he was a very like scary villain that didn't have like creepy sexual vibes. So that's the only thing that I didn't like about Quicksilver is Malcolm's weird vibes. But overall, I really love the story. I loved the Quicksilver element to it, in that she is an alchemist who can control Quicksilver. Super good. You're going to see my taste just like bounce around. Next is Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonam-Young. This author did the pregnancy trope right. She did it right. And you know that it's a pregnancy trope from essentially everybody. Like, it's the beginning of the book. It's not a surprise. That's the whole book, is going throughout her pregnancy. She was able to dive into the depth of her relationship with Beau in such a beautiful way. I adored this book. I don't really shy away from pregnancy books. Like, that's not like an ick trope for me. It really doesn't bother me. I do get annoyed whenever like every single book and the epilogue ends with, a couple kids and a white picket fence kind of thing. But I don't shy away from like pregnancy trope. It's just not something that like really bothers me. It's not low on my like trope list. Should do that one day. Highs and lows trope list. Yeah. Anyway, Squirrel. Out on the limb. 5 stars. Beautiful look. Next up, I've got Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. As I just explained in my last video, I discovered Abby Jimenez this year and I fell absolutely in love with her. I read all of her books this year and I gave almost all of them except for one 5 stars. So I just picked like my favorite and it was really hard to choose my favorite. It was probably between this Just for the Summer and Yours Truly. They both really deserve to be on the top 10, honestly. Can I just like bonus Just for the Summer and Yours Truly? Because why not? 2. Top 11? Yeah, whatever. Just for the Summer. I don't remember the characters' names. Frick. Justin was the main dude. Why do I always remember the guys' names and I never remember the girls' names? That makes sense. Frick, what was her name? Frick, Jeremy? Just for the Summer. I'm gonna see it. I'm gonna be like, oh, duh. Emma. Nope, that's not a duh moment. Wow, my brain just like completely nixed her name from my brain. And I loved her character. Okay. So we've got Emma and Justin, and they both have this curse on themselves, or they believe that they have this curse on themselves, where whenever they date somebody, after they break up, that person finds the love of their life next. So Justin posts on a Reddit explaining his affliction, and she comments on it and is like, hey, I got the same thing. So then they come up with this brilliant idea to date each other for a little bit and basically cancel each other out so where they meet the love of their lives next. She is a traveling nurse, so she somehow makes arrangements to go across country to meet this guy, date him, which, yes, I do acknowledge that is a bit crazy. Let's just go meet somebody that I've never seen before. The story works, though. His character was the epitome of, if he wanted to, he would. Like, effort to the maximum degree, sending out surveys to be like, how was your date? How would you rate me? Sending out like questionnaires on like, what would you like to do on this date? I adored his character. He was just effort. He put in so much effort. It was nuts. I truly loved how this one connected to the Part of Your World series. I did not see it coming. I think a lot of people did, but my memory is like a goldfish. So whenever like the names pops up, I did not connect it. And I read Part of Your World fairly recently. I didn't wait that long to read all 3 of these books. I think I read them all within like a couple months of each other. And yeah, no, my brain did not connect it until it connected in the book. And I'm like, oh shit. But I loved the connections between them. I loved this whole series so much. Yours Truly dealt with a lot of anxiety. Part of Your World dealt with like an age gap a little bit, but also just people being from 2 different worlds and coming together. I love Abby Jimenez. Top romance author for me. Most definitely. I cannot wait for her next release. Next one I've got is The Love Hypothesis. I read this book in one day. I could not put it down. I was able to listen to it a lot while I was working. I had a little bit of mindless work that day, so I was able to listen to the audiobook. I'm not able to do that anymore. I cannot listen to audiobooks while working. My work's got too complicated. But that day I could, and I could not put this book down. My goodness, it was amazing. This was my first book by Hazelwood, I think. No, I read Bride first, which is weird. I read Bride first from Hazelwood, and I was like, this is all right. I don't hate it. It wasn't my first knot book. So everybody was freaking out about knots, and I'm like, yeah, I've read shifter books before, so that didn't freak me out. But anyway, Love Hypothesis. Let's come back full circle here. Telling you, my brain, she goes around in circles. She does. What was this one even about? I read it so long ago and I read it so quickly. It was part of her STEM novels, and I truly don't even remember what it was about. I know I loved it. Can I tell you a single thing about it? Nope. We've got Olive and Adam in this book, and I think she like has an encounter where she sees her best friend in the hallway, and her best friend has recently started dating her ex, I think, but she wants to like reiterate that she doesn't have any hard feelings about that. So she finds a random dude in the hallway and kisses him. And there starts a fake dating story in a workplace, in a science workplace. It was so good. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. Imagine that. If I cannot put the story down, she's getting a high rating. Oh, this book gets so I'm sorry. Next time got when the moon hatched. She's okay. She's a little banged up, but she's okay. Whoops. Um, this book gets so much hate. I even got the sprayed up version. Oh, this book gets so much hate, y'all. I don't understand why. I truly don't. I loved this book. I loved this world. Oh man, the world was so much fun. Going into it though, I did have a little bit of context of how the world worked. I saw Fantasy Fangirls read this one prior and they broke it down on their Instagram over like how the world was broken up, the different types of dragons. So I already kind of had a little bit of a knowledge going into the book, and that just made it so interesting to read. The world is my favorite part of this book. I know that it shouldn't be, but it is. I don't know why. The romance was okay. I will say the romance, it lacked a little bit. I think it could have been done a bit better. It had a very interesting story, but it definitely could have been better. But our world is set where we've got the fade, the shade, and wait a minute, it's telling me the burn. Shade, fade, burn. Okay. So we've got the shade, the fade, and the burn. The shade is down at the bottom. That is our cold area. We've got dragons that really thrive in cold weather and don't thrive in hot weather. They burn up in hot weather. Then we've got the shade. I think we've got like more feathered dragons here. But it's like a middle ground where it's, more 70 degrees, maybe. I don't know. And then we've got the burn. Burn is really hot. We've got dragons up there that really thrive in the hot weather. Our main character, Rave, she's such a badass. I really loved her character. I can't remember the magic system though. I think the magic system in this one is where you sing, where like you sing and the gods bestow power on you based on that song. It's been a minute since I've read it. We've got diary entries in this book too that were crazy interesting. I loved those. They connect, of course. And I recently watched an interview with Sarah A. Parker stating that she did all the diary entries at once, which does make sense. I mean, that makes sense, but I think she did them first. I could be wrong. Oh, and the dragons, they go up to the sky to die. They go up in the sky and curl up in a ball and turn into a moon. The beginning of the story starts, I believe, stating something about a dragon that fell. So some of the moons are starting to fall and crash onto the earth. The dragons are they're dead. They're not coming back. Like the fall didn't bring them back to life. Dragons come up and turn into a moon whenever they're done. Sad. Also, the people in this, they're a bit terrible to the dragons. Sadly for me, I am such a basic bitch. Fourth Wing really is my favorite dragon book of all time. I haven't seen any other book do it like Fourth Wing, where you have that kind of a bond. If you guys know of any, let me know. Rebecca Yarros integrated the dragons into the story so thoroughly that they were truly a character in it. Like, I believe that everybody loves the dragons in Fourth Wing more so than the characters, Taryn and Darna, right? So every other book, unfortunately, that I've seen really depicts dragons as like a vehicle and a pet. That's kind of a bummer that I haven't found one that's done as well, but hey, we get Onyx Storm this month, so there's that. This one was still so good though. It was really good. The world was so interesting. The magic system was so interesting. The dragons were cool, but they weren't as prevalent as I would have liked. And the romance wasn't as prevalent as I would have liked. But somehow I still gave this book 5 stars. I was still obsessed. I did love the main female character though. She was a bit cold, but she was kick-ass. All right, let's put you back without you falling. No! Damn it! Did I ask for that? Probably. I'm gonna get my heart rate back to normal. All right, I've got 3 more. Next, I've got Drowning by TJ Newman. I think this might have been like my one and only thriller. Maybe that's why I gave it 5 stars, because I don't know how to properly rate a thriller, but this one's good. It had me hooked. This one took one of my biggest fears and just kind of brought it to life. Why did I like it? I don't like being scared. I hate horror things. But it was about a plane that was going over the ocean and it crashes into the ocean. It's about 12 passengers on the plane and their attempt to survive. And we've got a lot of deeper emotional stuff going on. We do jump around a lot. My bestie tried to read this one, and unfortunately, it gave her a little bit of whiplash with the jump arounds, but I didn't mind it. I liked it a lot. It was kind of hard to keep track because you are jumping around from, I think it's 12 different passengers. But we have like a main family in this, and I like how later the mom connects to it. I didn't think she was going to, but it does connect her in a great way, and it brings the family back together. It was thrilling and scary, and it was a thriller. I mean, so this year I would love to read Falling by TJ Newman as well. And then there's another one called Worst Case Scenario. I'll probably try to read that one as well. That's all I got for this one. I gave it 5 stars. I loved it. It had my heart beating out of my chest, which is what you really want from a thriller. I think I'm not a thriller reader. So next I've got The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. Oh man, this book was beautiful. So this past week, me and my son, my aunt, my mom, my nephew, we all went to Barnes& and Noble and out to lunch, and then we took the boys to Sky Zone to have some fun. But at Barnes& and Noble, my aunt is looking for a book for book club, and I found this one, and I'm like, oh, this one needs to be your book for book club. So good. This book was so well done. It's so well done. This one hit home in so many ways, too. It's got some magical realism in it. It is about a woman who enters into her apartment that was given to her by her aunt, and there's a man in her apartment. Obviously, she freaks out, right? But she doesn't realize that the apartment has jumped back 7 years, and the man currently in his timeline is renting that apartment from her aunt. He's subletting it for, I think, the summer. So it's the story of how she falls in love with this man. In her present day, she meets him, and he's completely different. He's a different person. He's lost some of that like spark for life, and it really just showed how time changes people and how just life changes overall in the course of 7 years. And I have been with my husband now for 11 years, and we are different people than we were a decade ago. But it is so important to grow together instead of apart. But whew, it just hit hard in so many ways and just brought to life like how life can change and just how to see life in a beautiful way, kind of thing. And yeah, it's a good one. Read it. The last book on my list is Crescent by the queen herself, Sarah J. Maas. I read all 3 this year. It's weird is that everybody hates book 3. I gave book 3 5 stars, and book 1 5 stars, and book 2 not so many 5 stars. Not so many stars. Book 1 is definitely my favorite out of the series so far. I don't even know. Is it done? Is she done reading the series? I'm not sure. I don't think she is. I think we're moving on to like Therian, and I'm not looking forward to that. But book 1 was a freaking masterpiece. I also really love the reels of like reading Akatar, and you're like, yeah, and then reading Tog, and you're like, yeah, and then reading Crescent City, and you're like, what? Because it's so much world building. It's an insane amount. You are so confused for like 200 pages, and then you're just hooked. It's urban fantasy. I don't remember what the city's called. Lunathian, I think. I think it's set in Lunathian. We've got Bryce and Hunt and Rune Dannon, Prince of Valdarian, whatever. You know that saying. If you're a fan of the series, you've heard that. Yeah, can I explain this? No, I cannot. It's essentially a murder mystery. I don't even like murder mysteries, which is why this book actually took me 2 attempts. I attempted to read it in 2023 and I DNF'd it. It was before I read Tog. I read Akatar and went straight into Crescent City, and I DNF'd Crescent City because it was just too much on me. I didn't like murder mysteries. So I soft DNF'd it essentially because obviously I finished it this last year. And then I read Tog, and I fell in love with Tog, which is up here. You can't see this shelf, but it's all Tog and Akatar. And came back to this with my best friend. She's like, we're going to read this one together. And I needed the motivation to get past those first 200 pages. But once I did, I fell in love, obviously. How in the heck does Sarah J. Maas keep her facts straight is what I want to know. Does she have like a mood board somewhere? with like random things popping up because I feel like she has to have that. I don't even know if I've caught all the Easter eggs in this. I I know I haven't caught all the Easter eggs in these books. I could probably reread Crescent City, but that would also require me to reread the second one, and I didn't like the second one. We've got a murder mystery going on. Let's full circle this. Let's come back to where we were at before I trailed off into my maze of my brain, you know. So we've got a murder mystery going on, and it's essentially Bryce trying to figure out her murderer and going to hunt for help, I think, or Hunt needs her help. And it's an epic story. It gets so much bigger than that. But that's pretty much all I can say about the first one. And the vacuum scene is amazing. That's all I got. I loved the first one so much. Obviously, the second one I was a bit bored with. I kind of lost it a little bit. And then by the time we got to the third one was a roller coaster. Everybody says that the third one, I'm pointing up here because I own it up here. Everybody says that the third one was a hot mess. And yeah, it was, but it was also fun. I enjoyed every bit of the third one. Well, not every bit. I don't like Therian. What's the wolf's name? I don't remember the wolf's name, but I liked him. Although some aspects of it was a bit frustrating. There were some things that happened that I was like, what was the point of that? It was a hot mess, but it was a fun hot mess. All right, that wraps this up. I'm done. I'm done talking about top 10. Alrighty, that wraps up my top 10 books of 2024, ranked in no particular order. I don't have a favorite. I enjoyed all of these books so much. I feel like I had a pretty good reading year. I'm looking forward to 2025 and hopefully having maybe like 25 books that are like my favorite in 2025. Here's to hoping 2025 is an even better reading year for everybody, me included. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Please stick around. Let's be friends. And thank you guys so much for watching. Bye. I hope you're doing good. Bye.